Harry and Meghan Markle will visit Canada in February 2025 for the Invictus Games Vancouver Whistler. However, their previous comments about the Commonwealth have raised concerns that this trip could create instability. Royal officials fear that their negative remarks could threaten the unity of the 56 member states. In 2020, Harry and Meghan left the royal family to live in Canada but later moved to Montecito, California. At one point, Harry was expected to take on an official role in Canada, but this plan was cancelled. Both have sparked controversy with their Netflix documentary, which was accused of offending the late Queen and criticizing her legacy. Recently, communication between the Sussexes and the British royal family has become very limited. Harry and Meghan plan to bring their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, to the opening ceremony of the Invictus Games 2025 in Vancouver, scheduled for a family-friendly time on February 8th. Certainly, the Sussexes will continue to be a thorn in the side of the Crown and Commonwealth as long as they preach their opposition to Crown policies from a semi-official position as a Duke and Duchess of the realms. There is only one way to finally end this continuing embarrassment, and we all know what that is. But sadly, the current monarch has shown no inclination to take any substantive steps in that direction. But let us pause for a moment and consider, are Harry and Meghan perhaps a bit delusional and inflated in their sense of power? Do they genuinely think they can provoke a crisis for the Commonwealth? What exactly gives them this supposed influence? And who really cares about them anyway? Harry and Meghan, who fled their royal duties for a life of privacy only to land squarely in the celebrity limelight, now seem to fancy themselves as global influencers. They appear to believe that their every move and statement holds the power to sway international relations. It is as if they've forgotten they are no longer representing the British monarchy but are instead the stars of their own perpetual drama. Their grandiosity is astonishing. Perhaps they envision themselves as modern-day revolutionaries, single-handedly dismantling colonial legacies with a few well-placed comments. The reality, however, seems far less impactful. Despite their self-important airs, the world's geopolitical landscape is unlikely to shift based on the musings of two people who left their royal posts under a cloud of controversy and self-pity. The notion that their presence in Canada could instigate a crisis is laughable. It is as if they imagine themselves as pivotal figures whose opinions could destabilize an entire association of nations. One might wonder if they've ever considered the actual significance and resilience of the Commonwealth, built over decades through diplomacy and cooperation, not through the whims of ex-royals. It is also curious to note how their grand statements and actions are frequently overshadowed by trivial personal dramas. Feuds with family members, tell-all interviews, and public grievances seem to dominate their narrative, overshadowing any genuine attempt at impactful advocacy. It is hard to take their self-styled roles as global changemakers seriously when their primary focus seems to be on airing personal grudges. This pair should say less and step back into the shadows. They are disruptive, divisive, and problematic people. They are not working royals, and the tour is not sanctioned by the palace. Their antics have become a sort of modern-day soap opera, with each episode bringing new layers of self-importance and controversy. The world has no shortage of actual problems, yet here we are, perpetually bombarded with the Sussexes' latest grievances and opinions. They seem to thrive on the chaos they create, as if they believe their disruption is a form of noble activism. What's particularly amusing is their insistence on being seen as serious players on the global stage. They are not working royals, yet they parade around with the airs of official representatives. Their tour isn't sanctioned by the palace, and yet they carry on as if their self-appointed missions hold the weight of royal endorsement. It's as if they replain dress-up, assuming that a borrowed tiara and a fancy title are enough to command respect and authority. The audacity of their actions is matched only by their divisiveness. They manage to alienate and polarize wherever they go, drawing lines in the sand with their every move. They've mastered the art of being problematic, sparking debates and igniting controversies that seem to serve no purpose other than to keep themselves in the news. It's almost as if they believe their value is measured by the amount of discord they can generate. Their self-importance is staggering. They act as if they are the moral compass the world desperately needs. despite the glaring contradictions in their own lives. They lecture on sustainability while hopping on private jets, and preach about compassion while burning bridges with their own families. Their hypocrisy is a spectacle in itself, providing endless fodder for those who see through their veneer of righteousness. And let's not forget their penchant for playing the victim. Despite their privileged status and immense wealth, they consistently position themselves as underdogs, battling against the forces of injustice. It is a narrative that might have been compelling if it weren't so transparently self-serving. They seem to have an endless supply of grievances, each more trivial than the last, yet expect the world to sympathize with their plight. The world would be better off if Harry and Meghan took a step back and allowed their actions to speak louder than their words. But that would require a level of humility and self-awareness that seems beyond their grasp. Instead, they continue to be the disruptors, the dividers, the problematic figures who mistake their own drama for significance. Moreover, the athletes have to pay their own way to compete in the games. Unlike Meghan and Harry, who seem to be subsidized, how many of those athletes are going to be able to afford to take their families along with them next year? Is Archewell digging in and contributing anything to Invictus? They should start to put their money where their mouths are. What is inevitable and necessary is to remove all titles, including Prince and Princess, from the surrogate children. Problem solved, the world will get to know, and nobody will want this fake pair to visit. The elegance of simplicity. Stripping away those inflated titles would indeed bring a dose of reality to Harry and Meghan-esque carefully curated fantasy world. Without the royal sheen, they become just another celebrity couple chasing relevance. The allure of their royal brand would evaporate faster than you can say Megxit. Let's imagine a world where Harry and Meghan are no longer cloaked in the titles that lend them an undeserved gravitas. Suddenly, their pronouncements on global issues would carry about as much weight as a tabloid horoscope. They would be revealed for what they are, a pair of overgrown children playing at being important. Their grand tour, not sanctioned by the palace, would lose its thin veneer of legitimacy. It would be akin to a reality TV roadshow, where two former stars attempt to recapture the limelight with increasingly desperate stunts. Without the backing of the monarchy, their ventures would be seen as what they truly are, self-serving escapades designed to keep their names in the headlines. And those surrogate children, stripped of their princely and princessly airs, would no longer be pawns in this elaborate game. They'd be just kids, spared the burden of carrying titles that serve more as accessories to their parents' vanity than as meaningful roles. The public might finally see through the charade and recognize the pair for their incessant need to fabricate significance. Without titles, Harry and Meghan would be thrust into the harsh glare of reality. They'd have to rely on substance rather than the inherited sparkle of royalty. Their ideas and initiatives would stand or fall on their own merits, rather than being buoyed by an outdated and increasingly hollow sense of nobility. Would their environmental crusades still hold sway if they weren't delivered with the faux gravitas of a duke and duchess? One might doubt it. Certainly, Meghan knows nothing about the purpose and values of the Commonwealth, but uses its existence to cause conflict and trouble. Even so, that is no reason to invite them back into the fold. They would only cause stress and more trouble than they are worth, and the majority of the British public don't want them back here ever. Meghan Markle, the self-styled expert on all things Commonwealth. Despite her glaring ignorance of its purpose and values, it's truly impressive how someone can speak so authoritatively about an institution they barely understand, using its existence as a convenient platform for stirring up conflict and drama. It's almost as if she believes that her mere association with royalty grants her instant expertise on complex geopolitical matters. But let us be honest, inviting them back into the fold would be a colossal mistake. The thought of reintegrating Harry and Meghan into the royal ecosystem is akin to inviting a pair of foxes back into the henhouse. Their track record of causing stress and upheaval far outweighs any potential benefits they might bring. Their return would likely spark a never-ending cycle of controversy, distraction, and unnecessary drama. The British public, for the most part, have made their sentiments quite clear. The majority would rather see them remain on the other side of the Atlantic. where their antics can be observed from a safe distance. There is a collective sigh of relief that accompanies their absence, a sense that the royal family and indeed the nation is better off without their constant need for attention and validation. It's almost laughable to consider the idea that they might be invited back. What exactly would they contribute? More tell-all interviews? Another round of public grievances aired in excruciating detail? The prospect of their return is more a nightmare than a dream, fraught with the potential for endless drama and division. Their penchant for using the Commonwealth as a rhetorical weapon reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of its true purpose. The Commonwealth is an association built on shared values and mutual cooperation, not a stage for personal vendettas and publicity stunts. Meghan's attempts to leverage it for her own agenda only highlight her superficial grasp of its significance. Bringing them back would also be a disservice to those who genuinely work towards the betterment of the Commonwealth. It would undermine the efforts of individuals and nations striving for real progress, overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of personal aggrandizement by people more interested in their own narrative than in any meaningful contribution. And let's not forget the royal family themselves, who have endured more than their fair share of turmoil thanks to Harry and Meghan's relentless media campaigns. The strain on familial relationships, the public airing of private matters, and the constant barrage of half-truths and accusations have taken their toll. To reintegrate them would be to invite more of the same, more tension, more division, and more public spectacle. Instead of welcoming this narcissistic couple, we should pay more attention to Prince William. He gave nearly $1 million to get the charity started, so it should have been a great help to the people who needed it. But the Montecito too got in on the act. A downward spiral started. Besides, Canadians are sensible. They know the difference between a state visit and a self-promo. Anything that Harry might say, in the context of the First Nations relationship with the Crown and the UK government, will be taken with a grain of salt because he no longer represents those institutions. If anyone does take his statement seriously, then the embarrassment is theirs, not Britain's. It is just a matter of time before Harry's patronage is removed. He is unable to get new sponsors and has no money to donate himself. Meghan needs a few more aisle-fitting design outfits. Of course, they are taking the children to Canada. It gives Meghan the chance to be front and center again because the kids are there. So again, take the attention away from what is central to the job. Oops, job. There is no job. It's just a series of appearances to try and remain relevant in some way. What about security? The Canadians did not want to pay for that, so the Metropolitan Police team had to cover them when they relocated there. Honestly, it is just another move. More headaches for the real royal family, while Meghan does all she can to establish herself as being somebody. Harry and co. have taken away the reason for the games. It was supposed to be a way of bringing the injured veterans together and competing in friendly games. It was never meant to be taken over by someone with an agenda to promote itself. And the quicker this is, self-promotion is brought to an end, the better, and the games return to the veterans. Wipes tears of laughter from her eyes. No, it could not. Just groans and head shaking. That's the only result of the trip. To imply the Carparkles have any sort of power is just farcical. What specifically should we call this appearance? The Invictus family friendly? It was founded to support the veterans, and nothing else. No show ran as a fashion parade from a person not even working for Invictus, nor in any competition with the royal family, and not founded by Harry. It's ironically funny. The charitable Invictus Games Foundation pays all their expenses when they put in their PR appearance at the Invictus Games. On top of which, Harry uses the brave injured hero Invictus athletes as the content that he is obliged to provide Netflix in order to collect on his multi-million-dollar contract with the company. Veterans stand for courage, honor, and commitment, which are fine qualities that are missing in Harry. Well, it's not just Meghan. Neither Harry or Meghan know anything about the Commonwealth. It is decidedly not Empire 2. Cyril, it is completely voluntary to be a member. Countries have joined, then left, then rejoined. Countries, such as Mozambique, are members yet were never British colonies. It is purely an organization for the mutual benefit of all. Yes, the original members were former colonies, and yes, the current monarch is the titular head. But that is because the late Queen Elizabeth was such a champion of the organization. I cannot believe how truly uneducated people are. Meghan shows it every time she opens her mouth. She fails to do any research on any subject, just spouts sound bites. To be honest, getting Harry and Meghan back on the side in case there are any incidents that occur is laughable. Is the Crown supposed to take that as Harry and Meghan being a threat of taking over the Commonwealth? So the Crown should take them back to prevent that? There is a very simple remedy to Harry and Meghan's attitude of thinking. They can do whatever they want. Do not take Harry and Meghan back on any terms. That is completely insane. They are not to be trusted, and everyone knows that. They do not represent the Crown or royal family in any capacity, nor should they be allowed to pretend to do so with fake, unauthorized royal tours. Do not empower them at all. Keep them very restricted from anything to do with the Crown and royal family by making it very clear to them that they are not a royal court of any kind. Intercepting, influencing, or intruding in any business of the Crown and royal family is considered treason, and consequences will be served to them as such. Should they persist, take away all of their titles and exile them. If they continue to act as if they are part of the royal institution, swift and decisive action must be taken. Harry and Meghan's delusions of grandeur must be met with firm reality. The integrity of the Crown and the peace of the Commonwealth depends on it. You know that Meghan has a close bond with Canada, as she used to live there while filming Suits, said the source. Ah, yes, a close bond until the paycheck ended. That American has no real connection to Canada at all. Her so-called bond with Canada is as shallow as her understanding of loyalty. It's almost endearing how she's able to leverage every past convenience into a narrative of deep personal connection. Living somewhere temporarily while pursuing a career and then leaving it behind as soon as the work dries up hardly qualifies as a meaningful bond. It's as if she believes that a few years of residency and a TV role have somehow ingrained her into the fabric of Canadian society. Meghan's relationship with Canada is the epitome of opportunism. She used the country as a stepping stone, a convenient backdrop for her acting career, and nothing more. Once the cameras stopped rolling, so did her interest in maintaining any ties. The notion that she has any genuine affection for the place is laughable. It's not about love for the country, it's about exploiting whatever connection she can fabricate to suit her narrative. It's this kind of transparent manipulation that has become Meghan's hallmark. She has mastered the art of appearing to be deeply connected and invested wherever it benefits her image, all while discarding those so-called connections as soon as they were no longer useful. Canada, for Meghan, was merely a stopover on her way to bigger, more glamorous ambitions. Her supposed bond is nothing more than a fleeting convenience, wrapped up in the guise of heartfelt connection. The real tragedy here is how she manages to turn even the most transactional relationships into a narrative of profound attachment. Canadians, much like the British public, see through this charade. They understand that her time in Canada was driven by nothing more than professional necessity and the pursuit of fame. Her departure was as calculated as her stay, shedding any pretense of connection the moment it no longer served her purpose. Meghan's opportunism and lack of genuine loyalty reveal a deeper truth about her character. Her actions scream of someone who is willing to use people, places, and institutions to climb the social ladder, only to discard them when they've outlived their usefulness. It's a pattern that has become all too familiar, leaving a trail of disillusionment and broken relationships in her wake. So, let us not kid ourselves about Meghan's close bond with Canada. It's a bond of convenience, forged in the fires of self-interest and extinguished just as quickly when it no longer serves her ends. That American has no real connection to Canada at all, just a trail of exploited opportunities and discarded ties. And as the world watches her next moves, it becomes ever clearer that her loyalties are as fleeting as her career in Canada. Meghan Markle, the queen of superficiality, has somehow turned every appearance into a runway spectacle. It is almost impressive how she can make even the most serious events seem like a backdrop for her latest designer ensemble. The Invictus Games, an event meant to honor veterans, risks becoming just another platform for her to showcase her wardrobe rather than the resilience and courage of those who served. And let us talk about Harry's supposed veteran status. A single short tour, heavily protected and more of a photo op than real service, hardly qualifies him to stand shoulder to shoulder with those who have truly sacrificed. It is as if he's playing dress up, donning the guise of a soldier without ever truly understanding the weight of that role. His claims to be a vet feel more like another attempt to cling to a shred of relevance. Meghan's presence, meanwhile, seems more focused on the spectacle she can create than on the actual cause. Her penchant for turning every event into her personal catwalk detracts from the gravity of the occasion. The veterans deserve the spotlight, not another media circus centered around Meghan's latest outfit. It's a disservice to those who have genuinely served and sacrificed. Her superficial approach to such meaningful events only highlights her lack of genuine understanding or connection to the causes she pretends to champion. It is all about the image, the headlines, the clicks. The real stories of bravery and sacrifice are overshadowed by her relentless quest for attention. It is as if she believes that her mere presence is enough to validate any event, regardless of her actual contribution. A couple of things: they are not that important, and no one listens to them as if they are a joke. I also do not think they are that well liked in Canada, bearing in mind the uprising against them having to pay towards their security costs for the few weeks they were there. I hope the Canadians keep away in their droves. The easiest thing would be for Invictus to remove Harry and, by extension, his wife from any further association with it. That way, Invictus, veterans, and the Commonwealth would benefit by not being used as a piggy bank and PR machine by that pair. They can go on as many pseudo-royal tours as they via mind to. Sadly, they can be stopped. But personally, I think it's a disgrace they are allowed by the Invictus Games Committee to use the games as their own publicity stunt. The committee needs to ask Harry to do the right thing or lose the goodwill of the people who financially support the games and bring them into disrepute. Well, that is all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching our video, and I want to know what you think about these issues. Please express your opinion in the comments below. Hope you will always be cheerful and happy. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.